What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Talk with Hawk podcast. Today, we take a look at the Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings, a team that definitely overachieved in 2024. But what does 2025 have in store for us then? Fighting at 15-1 at the end of the year for a number one seed to getting knocked out in the playoffs pretty handily. Let's find out. Here we go. Fabulous Friday to each and every one of you. How are you doing today? Today we are going to look at the Minnesota Vikings. I like this team. I love the organization. Absolutely love the general manager. Really like the head coach. I like their philosophy and how they've built this team. But even with all that, something seems to be missing. I don't know what it is. So, just looking at it, we're going to work backwards here. So, looking at the thumbnail, they've got they got $90 million in cap space, basically. When you add the extra $20 million in, they've got a ton of cap space. My original thought was they were going to take a step back, and I think they still will take a step back. But I don't see why they've got to take a giant leap backwards. Taking a step back from 15-2 could legitimately mean going to 12-5, 13-4. With $70 million in cap, you have got a lot of opportunity. They didn't lose Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator. To me, that was the big thing. I thought he was going to end up getting the Saints job. Saints waited around forever, decided to go with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore basically was left with the scraps to be able to build a staff. And what was really telling is that he did not pull a bunch of Philadelphia assistants over with him. That's a telling sign. Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn pulled Detroit assistants with them. Sean Payton stole a Detroit assistant. The Eagles are one of the most complex teams because you don't attribute everything to the staff at all. That roster is just so dang good. That roster should be winning every year. And that's exactly what it looks like. The coach doesn't really matter. The defensive coordinator did. Vic Fangio really changed the way that defense was playing. But when it comes down to it, that roster was just so good. It's the number one roster in the NFL. Absolutely the number one roster in the NFL. So when you look at a team like the Vikings, where are they going to go? Well, I believe, and we'll have this snapshot next week with the Detroit Lions, I believe the Lions will take a step back as well. I don't think you're going to be able to maintain that high level. So I think there's a shot for the Vikings. I really think there's a shot depending on what they do at the quarterback. Now, this is a fabulous Friday. This is being recorded on Friday. I'll have some thoughts on the rest of the NFL news at the end of this snapshot. So, $70 million in cap space. They got 25 free agents. The big issue for me is you're not going to get anything cheap. You've only got 3 picks in this draft right now. 3. Which means You're losing all the free cap from the rookies. You're going to have to sign everybody else, which can cause cap issues later. So let's go ahead and take a look at who the free agents are for them. Minnesota. Where'd they at? There they are. Minnesota Vikings. So, let's see. Yep, 25. All right. There's quite a few of free agents. There is quite a few. And there's some guys that you know they're going to want to re-sign. So, number one, the left tackle, Cam Robinson. I don't think they re-sign him. They got him from Jacksonville. He did very good. That is a left tackle that I think has a very good market. He played very well for the Vikings, and he's going to turn 30 years old. Obviously, everybody knows Sam Darnold's a free agent. But then you've got 3 cornerbacks in a row here. Actually, let's see, 5. There's 5 corners. Theo Jackson, whatever. Fabian Moreau, okay. Then you've got Shaquille Griffin, Stephon Gilmore, and Byron Murphy. Murphy's the one I think they're going to re-sign. Give him a 3-year deal. Murphy is needed in this defense. Absolutely needed in this defense. Aaron Jones is a free agent. I can go both ways on Aaron Jones. I would still draft a rookie, but I'd sign Aaron Jones. You were paying him $7 million last year. He didn't break a bunch of records. I'd say do the exact same thing instead of late in deal. Give him a 7-year deal. He's only 30 years old. I would absolutely give him a 2-year deal. Let him finish out with you, in a sense. Let him finish out with you. Draft your rookie. Aaron Jones is a bigger back. Keep him around. That's what I would do. Jerry Tillery, the defensive tackle, I would re-sign him. Dalton Risner, that's going to be a question what they want to do. Jonathan Bullard, I would definitely re-sign. He fits what Brian Flores does on the defense. So there are going to be a couple of things that they really have to make a decision on. Byron Murphy, I would absolutely re-sign. Aaron Jones, I would re-sign. I would re-sign Tillery and Shaquille Griffin. I don't think with having only 3 draft picks, what you're doing now is you lose the flexibility in free agency. You need to go get them. You've got $90 million in cap space, essentially. This is why I think they may tag Sam Darnold just to trade him. Yes. That's what I said. The tag would be about $41 million. Obviously, it's all guaranteed. I think they want to get something for Darnold. I like that move because they only have 3 picks in the draft. If they had their 7 or 8 picks, I'd be like, don't play games. Don't get stuck with something. If you really want to move on from Darnold, move on. But if you're willing to potentially take the risk that he's on your roster, which I don't think he will be, too many teams need a quarterback. That move could really work in their favor. Tag Darnold, trade him away. You can get a second, maybe. I'd say you can get 2 picks if you go a 3rd and a 5th. He's not worth a first-round pick. We know that. He's not Matt Stafford. I wouldn't give a first-round pick for Baker Mayfield right now. His age helps him because he's so young. If he gets in the right system, you're talking about he could have a nice 5-year stretch. Absolutely. Absolutely, I think Kevin O'Connell unlocked the part of Sam Darnold that everybody believed when he was coming out of college. And Buddy and I were talking last night. I'm going to take you back because this is going to go backwards. But think about all the quarterbacks that have been bitten by the franchise. And I'm going to throw out 3 names for you. I'm just going to throw out 3 names. Number 1, David Carr. Now, I know there's going to be some that say, well, at the end of his Houston Texans career, excuse me, I've got a sneeze and it's sitting right in the back there and it's driving me nuts. Um, but I know there's those that are going to say, well, the last year he had a solid team and he just couldn't do it. The last year? How many times had he already been hit? He had already been beaten, bruised, damaged, and we're not talking about the way that Matt Stafford was. Like, Matt Stafford was constantly competing. David Carr would get hit within 2 seconds of snapping the dang ball. Like, I remember how bad that offensive line was. The Colts took advantage of it multiple times. He got caught by an organization. It was an expansion team. It's going to happen. But he really got caught by having an organization that wasn't ready to compete, was trying to figure out how to play football. Let's be honest, trying to figure out how to play football for the first 3 years, 4 years. And it took him a little while. Another guy I think was absolutely Joey Harrington. I do not think he was going to be I don't think he was going to be Matt Stafford's level. Okay, I think that was a little bit too high. But the guy, just look what he did with Atlanta. Michael Vick gets hurt. He keeps Atlanta relevant. But it really, really hurt who he went to first. You get bitten by the franchise. The franchise does matter. You can't tell me it doesn't. Because the way that these guys are landing, I do believe there are absolutely quarterbacks that could have had long 10, 15-year careers as a franchise quarterback that just ended up getting, well, basically screwed up. Because mentally they weren't able to keep getting hit. The clock got really fast, really quickly. And I think that's what happens. Now, third guy, and I want to throw this out there. The third guy I was thinking about, because I went back through and I was like, well, who could have done this? Who could have done that? You know, when you look at everything, Tim Couch for the Cleveland Browns. Yes, I know, we're going backwards. I know. The Cleveland Browns have not been an organization. I mean, let's just look at the history here. The Cleveland Browns have not been an organization up until Andrew Berry's come in that knows what they're really actually trying to accomplish. I think Tim Couch, the way that Cleveland was at that time was really bad. How coaching was back then, I think, was really bad. I do remember Cade McNown from UCLA went to Chicago. I called that. I mean, I was a kid at that point in time, but I called that one and went, no. So I do believe it matters. J.J. McCarthy is now on the Vikings, so let's pivot back to the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy is on the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell, a very good offensive coordinator, unlocked the part of Sam Darnold that people had been waiting to see in New York. New York, he didn't have a coaching staff that could unlock anything. Shanahan kind of gave the code to Kevin O'Connell. Kyle Shanahan had already worked with Darnold, and that was huge. I think Darnold has a pretty big market, and by big, I mean like 5 teams right now. He's got a big market. I think the Raiders really, really improve with him. I really do. But the Raiders don't have the downfield threat that I think you have to have with Darnold. That's my issue right now. Just because he would probably help them doesn't mean he's going to succeed, because in Minnesota he's got Justin Jefferson, he had Jordan Addison, and he was able to throw the ball deep. He's a big arm guy. He really struggles with the short passes. Tennessee would probably actually be better for him than Las Vegas. The Saints have said they're sticking with Derek Carr. Okay. If you're going to clear out everything else, fine. And we'll get to them. They will be Sunday nights. Snapshot. But I think you can get a really good third and a fifth for O'Connell. And if you push it back to next year, you may be able to get a third this year and a fourth next year. I think you've got value there. But with $90 million in cap space total, you got to re-sign the free agents. So now we get to what's the out-of-the-box idea. Honestly, because of how this team is built, I don't have one. Because the team is actually, in my mind, pretty well set. And there's no free agent I think they have to go jumping after. They get their left tackle back, which is why they, traded for Cam Robinson. They get their left tackle back. In all honesty, if I were to say they need to make a big move, I would almost say you need to move off of TJ Hawkinson. That would kind of be my out-of-the-box idea. You're drafting number 24 in the draft. I would move off of Hawkinson only because of injuries. I would move off of him and see if you could trade up and get Tyler Warren. That would be my idea. I think Hawkinson is a tight end that, being on the back end of his career now, I think he's on the back end because of injuries, not necessarily because of skill. He's just, the injuries are starting to pile up over the last 2 years. And it's leg injuries, foot injuries, and those just end up continually nagging you. Hand injuries, arm injuries, who cares? Those you can heal. You can put a rubber brace around your arm. You can do a bunch of stuff there. The leg injuries, they're different. If I were to say anything that maybe people are going to be like, huh? I would trade Hawkinson, and I would go young with Hawkins. I'd go young trying to get Tyler Warren. He fits this offense better. He does. He really fits this offense better. And personally, I'd actually be okay if Warren's sitting there. I would take Hawkinson, and I'd be okay with the Colts swapping the picks. They'll have to give up, a later pick as well, a fourth or a fifth as well. But I really believe that you could swap picks and go get, Loveland may work. The way that O'Connell's offense is, I think Tyler Warren's better for it. But Loveland easily could work. He's a lot more like Brock Bowers. He's a receiving tight end. But hey, both of those tight ends, I believe, are going to have success in the NFL. Because I was going over this. What are the top tight ends right now? Like, Travis Kelce's coming back, and we're going to have another mediocre Travis Kelce year. Yet he's still going to be a top 10 tight end. Well, why is that? Well, it's actually because tight ends have fallen off. We have had a drastic decline in tight ends the last 3 years. So I think there's a lot of value with Hawkinson. I think Warren and Loveland will actually be coveted by certain coaches that understand having a guy like that is going to be irreplaceable when it comes down to it. So I trade Hawkinson, move up, draft your new tight end, even if, if you wanted, Fannon's good. There's multiple tight ends in this draft that can be starters. Absolutely. So that's kind of my only out-of-the-box idea. Use your cap space, sign some of your guys that are younger, give them 3-year deals. The team isn't bad. This isn't a team that went, 8-9 and is on the verge. They went 15-2. They definitely overachieved, but they can go 12-5 next year if McCarthy, plays like Sam Darnold did. And all he's got to do is throw the ball up in the air. Let's be honest. He really only has to throw the ball up in the air, and Justin Jefferson and Addison have to catch it. It's not that hard. The running game may have to be a little bit bigger. Let's run down the stats here real fast, and then we'll get into some of the NFL news to close it out. So this past season, the Vikings had the 12th best offense in the league at 347 yards per game. They were the 6th best passing offense at 238th, but they were the 19th best rushing at 109 yards a game, and they averaged 25 points per game. The running game, I feel, really needs to be 5 to 7 slots better with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. You're going to need the running game to really matter so that the play action works and gives easy windows to get the ball to Addison or Jefferson. Now, defensively, this really confused me. I'm not going to lie. It really confused me. We know how good they were. But because of the games against the Lions, where they let up a ton of yards, and because of a couple other games, their defensive stats actually are kind of worse than I thought. They were the number 16 total defense in the league, so dead middle, 335 yards a game. They were the 28th passing defense in the league at 242 yards a game. So if there's a spot they need to improve, they need to improve the pass defense, which means you could try to trade Hawkinson for a corner. That's definitely possible. And you probably need to, because you got to re-sign Byron Murphy. To me, you got to sign Shaquille Griffin. I don't know what Harrison Smith's going to do, but he's getting old. You're going to need the rookie in the secondary. So there are different things. That's probably their biggest hole on this team right now. Second one was going to be that running game, but the number one is that passing game's got to get better. Well, they were also second against the run, so it kind of counteracted, but this is a mostly passing league. I would say right now it's a 60-40 passing running league. I don't think it's 70-30 like it was for a couple years. I think it's dropped back down, and I think this year you could even see it go back down to 55-45. But they allowed 93 rushing yards a game, second best in the NFL, 19 points per game allowed, plus 12 in the turnover differential. This is where Brian Flores excels. Brian Flores is a dang good defensive coordinator. Opportunistic setting up schemes. 24 interceptions for the Minnesota Vikings this year. 9 fumble recoveries. They gave away the ball 12 times through the air and also had 9 fumbles, so a plus 12 turnover differential. All right, let's close this out. So, I'm not going to harp on it, but I do want to constantly bring up, I told you so. This is going to be a wild offseason. This is going to be an absolutely epic offseason. The amount of players that have been given permission to seek a trade proves everything I've been saying. You thought, most everybody's like, this could be a really quiet offseason. The draft's not that great. Wrong. That's when everything gets shook up. Every 5 to 6 years, you need a draft class that's like this, where you've got a bunch of second and third round guys. You need a draft class where you're not talking all top end talent to shake up the NFL, because now you could have, and I said this, day one, there will be 5 trades. Day one of free agency, you will have 5 trades. Day one. It's going to be guys getting under the cap, moving this around so they can go sign somebody else. There's going to be a lot of movement. I say 5 trades, day number 1. You're going to see it happen immediately. And there's not going to be just small names. Jair Alexander's on the market. I don't think the Packers trade him to the Vikings, but that would be a good move for the Vikings to make. Rashawn Jenkins, the safety for the Seahawks, has just been requested to go seek a trade. That could help the Vikings. The safety spot absolutely needs help in Minnesota. You've only got 3 picks, so you're going to have to get really creative with what you do. At this point in time, though, you have got no less than 10 to 15 players that have been told, yeah, go ahead. Go seek out what you may be able to get. Go right ahead and go seek out what may be out there for you. See what your trade value may be. It's going to get wild, and it's fantastic because this is why the NFL doesn't stay down for long. You don't have to. The Patriots can make moves, and they can go from having the number 4 pick to having a pick that's in the 20s because they made the playoffs in one off season because of how the shakeup can happen. Yes, if they could actually get everything right, Chicago's got a team that can make the playoffs. If they can get offensive linemen, if they can make the trades that work to get themselves the offensive linemen they need, Chicago can make the playoffs. And honestly, Detroit's the team that I think takes this biggest step back, and we'll go over that in their snapshot next week. At some point, it's too much. I said it yesterday. Sometimes you have to have a down year. And it's that simple. All right. It is a fabulous Friday. It's an absolutely beautiful day outside. We're going to go enjoy it. It's windy as heck, though. My gosh, the wind is bad. So if you're out traveling this weekend, be safe. Have a great Friday. We are going to have 2 podcasts a day over the weekend. So there's going to be one in the morning, the one at night. Broncos are tomorrow. Broncos and Chiefs are tomorrow, morning and night. And then the Chargers and Saints will be on Sunday. And that will give us the ability to make sure we're done so that next Sunday I can do my pre-free agency podcast. That's what I'm hoping. I needed to get those days from losing the 2 days from whatever OBS decided to do. So that will be what happens. So have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Make it the best weekend that you can. Enjoy time with friends, family, whatever you may be doing. And I will see you guys tomorrow with 2 podcasts and Sunday with 2 podcasts. So have an absolutely great evening, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe, like, ring the bell. You know what to do. Do all the things. I deeply appreciate it. Until next time, for Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk, and I'm out. Have an absolutely great Friday night.